In the aftermath of the Mount Merapi eruption in Indonesia, local Tzu Chi volunteers went to the Muhammadiyah Hospital in Yogyakarta, where a number of displaced volcano victims are sheltering, to distribute food boxes, clothes, bathroom products and skin cream.
Apart from food, there's also a small selection of clothes for displaced victims of the Mount Merapi eruption, who are sheltering at Muhammadiyah Hospital in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. The homes of most of the 259 victims here were burned down by hot clouds of volcanic ash.
We wanted to meet them face to face, to talk to them properly. We hope they can let out the hardship and pressure they're feeling inside and take a weight off their minds. These aid supplies aren't much, but as Tzu Chi volunteers, it's good practice for us to communicate with the disaster victims.
Tzu Chi volunteers hope the aid of 500 meals, 60 towels, a bag of clothing, skin cream, and other emergency supplies will in some way help the Mount Merapi victims get over the trauma of the disaster.
Mount Merapi in Indonesia has again been angrily spewing out hot volcanic ash, forcing over 10,000 people to flee. Tzu Chi volunteers went to an emergency shelter in Magelang County near the slopes of the mountain to hand out aid packs to villagers who evacuate their homes. The caregivers from Jakarta, Yogyakarta and Magelang distributed a total of 1,500 bags of essential supplies to the 375 families who were crowded together in a local gym.
Covered in volcanic ash, Magelang County has lost its green hue, and local farmers here in central Java of Indonesia have lost their source of income. "375 families who cannot return to their homes are sheltering in this gymnasium. The more than 1,000 people who are crowded together say they are finding it hard to eat and sleep properly.
I was born in Magellan. Since I was a child till now, I've seen the volcano erupt many times. But this time it is lasting longer than before.
Tzu Chi volunteers are here to help some of the people who have been affected by Mount Merapi. Volunteers from Jakarta, Yogyakarta and Magelang distribute 1,500 emergency packs.
The residents were not very well off before, and there are a lot of disaster victims, which is making their situation even worse. They are at the mercy of nature. We feel sympathy for their plight, but because the disaster area is so wide, we haven't been able to get to some places. We're just doing the best we can.
Eagerly unpacking the supplies, the recipients discover that each practical item is just what they needed. Although many do not know when they'll be able to return to their homes, one thing they are sure of is that in their hour of need, Tzu Chi came to their side.
Terima kasih atas bantuannya dari Buddha Tzu Chi.
Since records began, Mount Merapi has exploded over 100 times, yet local villagers, like the people you just saw in the previous story, keep going back to their homes, saying they have a cultural and spiritual connection to the volcano and also make a living by farming the fertile mountain land. With 5 million Indonesians living near active volcanoes, there seems to be no easy solution to the problem.
Mount Merapi in Indonesia continues to spew clouds of volcanic ash. Powerless to defend themselves against its awesome power, residents flee for their lives in panic. Yet another eruption at Mount Merapi no longer makes the headlines. This active volcano has erupted over 100 times since records began. Each explosion takes a heavy toll on lives and property, yet people who live on its slopes have never considered moving away.
Why should I move away from here? This is my home, so we cannot leave unless we have already passed away.
We know the signs of when the volcano is about to erupt. The animals on the volcano, like the monkeys and birds, all come running into the village.
The confident villagers say they can live together with their explosive neighbour. But in recent eruptions, which are the worst in a century, hundreds of people have lost their lives.
We can never defeat Mount Merapi. We shouldn't even try to beat the volcano. There are 5 million people in Indonesia who live near volcanoes. 5 million.
When the volcano blows its top, the villagers evacuate en masse and return when the mountain calms down again. The reason why they keep coming back to the danger zone, apart from ancestral traditions and folk beliefs, is the fertile land on the mountainside.
Because there is constant danger here, if the volcano erupts, the residents will have to evacuate.
Living beside an unexploded bomb, if the residents followed expert advice, they would move away for good instead of evacuating temporarily. Perhaps the question of where they would go needs to be addressed in a comprehensive plan. For more than 3 weeks now, Indonesia's Mount Merapi has been belching out lava and burning hot ash. Nearby villages have been evacuated to safer areas at least 20 kilometers away from the volcano. So far, over 320,000 disaster victims have been relocated to 578 temporary shelters in central Java and Yogyakarta. Many families in the safe areas are also taking in disaster victims with open arms during this, their hour of need.
Sunshine bathed these vast green land in love, even as the volcano Mount Merapi, some 20 kilometers away, is belching its fury upon villages not so far away. At least 200 disaster victims have found refuge here in Gombang village.
When the volcanoes erupted, some victims came to seek refuge here. They asked me if I have a place. I told them, if you don't mind, you may stay at my house.
Mrs. Nishi's home is currently lodging 20 disaster victims. Others in the neighborhood are also extending a caring hand.
I'm very happy and very grateful, especially to the family who took us in. That night we were searching everywhere for a place to stay, and we found this district's head's home.
This natural disaster is not just a personal concern, but the concern of all people, so we should help them.
In addition to the 578 temporary shelters set up by the government, residents are welcoming in disaster victims to their own homes, displaying an altruistic camaraderie in this hour of need.
The new Tzu Chi International School in Jakarta, Indonesia, is currently under construction and will be ready by July next year. Just this Sunday, a blessing ceremony was held as cement was poured into the roof of the new school. Some 400 volunteers and Tzu Chi members, along with parents, came to offer their blessings for the new school.
A sign that says "Guide on to the righteous path and teach the proper values" is attached to a crane pouring cement onto the roof of the new Tzu Chi International School in Jakarta, Indonesia. Some 400 Tzu Chi volunteers and members, as well as parents, are here to offer their blessings.
Master Zheng Yen often says knowledge can be obtained from everywhere. But Tzu Chi schools focus on moral and ethical education so students develop proper values at a young age, which will help them make wise choices throughout their life.
The school located in northern Jakarta will not be completed till next year, but already parents are lining up to enroll their children, for they have faith in Tzu Chi.
I hope my children will not only be educated but have proper values as well. This is our first Tzu Chi activity and it feels wonderful. For sure, we want our children to come study here.
Come next July, children will be able to attend the school that will offer education from kindergarten to high school, and Tzu Chi teachers and volunteers will make sure students receive a well-rounded schooling.